Hey, vinyl community and all my music loving friends. It's MGK Boston. That's Mike back with another video. It's a 100-degree heat wave here, but I'm inside in the AC. It's just too hot to be out there right now. Anyway, so I thought I'd make a video on my ride home. I have a long commute in Boston traffic. It's a nightmare, but I listen to a lot of music and I think of ideas for these videos sometimes. So today, I thought I'd try to start a thread. Don't know if anybody in the vinyl community will pick up on it, but if they do, that's great. What I was thinking of is, you know, I know where a lot of the people I follow in the vinyl community on here, you know, there's a Down Under Tunage guy. His name escapes me. I think it's John. He's down in Australia. That's probably the furthest geographically from me. And there's a couple of friends in the UK, and of course here in the United States and in Canada. So what I thought of, kind of something unique. Make a video and spelling out either maybe the city where you live, the state, the province, or the actual country. So of course, England. So in the case of England, for example, solo artists with surnames beginning with E-N-G-L-A-N-D. Conversely, if you want to make it a hybrid, use band names, mix it with solo artists. But again, for this thread, I think it'd be cool if we keep it consistent. And for those letters, just use the surname of the solo artist. For example, if you were from Chicago and you wanted to start your video with a solo artist, Leonard Cohen might be a good choice. So I think you get the idea. So anyway, lucky me, I live in a state with a long name. So I'm going to try to keep the video not too long. You know, I like to get into little biographical details. I'll try to keep that brief today. So I'm going to do Massachusetts because Boston is just 6 letters. That's too quick. So Massachusetts it is. So Massachusetts. There you have the spelling. So I'm going to rhyme off some bands along those lines, along those letters rather. So we'll kick it off right here. Sporting this shirt today. It's Ride the Lightning. It's Metallica's second album. This is, of course, is on compact disc, this version. Released in 1984, and this was actually produced by the band themselves. Here they are, some nice shots of them on the inside. There's Hetfield. Yeah, the guys are all here. So anyway, the late, great Cliff Burton down in the corner. So let's see what's in here in the liner notes. Oh yeah, there's the guys. Right there, that's a cool shot. They're really young there. Of course, this is 1984, and they're still kicking around. Never did see them live, but I have most of their stuff between compact disc and record. You know, you're going to get varied opinions on the later stuff, but this early stuff is definitely thrash, kick-ass. When you're in the mood for it, it's fantastic. And yeah, Kirk Hammett, one of my favorite guitar players of all time, specific to heavy metal, I would say. Maybe not all genres, but I'm a big Kirk Hammett fan. And I think Lars Ulrich, some people don't really like him as a drummer, but I think he keeps the time, and that's what it's all about. And it's Metallica, Ride the Lightning. For the letter M. And A. This is classic 80s material right here. It's Alphaville, Forever Young. The title track was, of course, a big slow dance song at those high school dances. If you were from my era, of course, I graduated high school in 87. You did hear that song. Not sure if these guys were actually from Germany, but this song on here, Somewhere in Berlin. This is just really nice synth pop. Nothing fancy, but certainly for the period, it was representative. And they do have a song on here, To Germany with Love. So thus, I didn't look it up, but I don't know. There's 2 references to Germany. But then, of course, they're big in Japan. That was a big single from this. An excellent track. Look that up. There's a good 12-inch version I have of that one, actually, too. And this is Alphaville. The year on this, 1984. And it's Forever Young. Great title track on that. If for some reason you haven't heard it, look it up. It's excellent. All right, so that was letter A. Moving on to S. There he is, from the man from Detroit. It's Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. And there he is. He's got the Night Moves. In 1976, the release date on this one. And there's the band on the back. So a 6-piece band, including Seger out front. And this has some really great moments on here. Rock and Roll Never Forgets kicks it off. Of course, Night Moves is a great tune. Main Street is an excellent ballad. Yeah, this is really good. Really good classic rock. I'm a big Seger fan. And there's another one I wish I would have seen because he just has a really excellent band. And, you know, all the stuff I've seen live in clips, it's just really terrific. And he's just a great front man and a great singer. And yeah, kick-ass, like just old school rock and roll, really. You know, well, he loves like that old time rock and roll, you know, the song, as the story goes. So yeah, it's the Silver Bullet Band with Bob Seger, of course, and it's the Night Moves. First S there, or M-A-S-S, and this is the second S, and it's the boys from Germany. Speaking of Germany that I just mentioned, it's Klaus Meine and Scorpions. There's Klaus down in front, one of the best frontmen in rock and roll, and in my top 5 concerts, I saw them on the Tease Me, Please Me tour. I think that was 90 or 91 in Ottawa. They were really, really, really great. They just love to play live, and it shows. They're still touring. They just put out a new CD. Name escapes me, but it's not the original lineup. A couple of guys have left. I mean, Klaus here is 73 years old. He just hit 73 this year in 2022. And this is Savage Amusement. Don't ask me what number of albums this is. They'd been at it for a long time at this point. This came out in 88 on Polygram, Mercury Polygram. And of course, there's all the guys there. Drummer Herman Rarebell, Matthias Jobs, Klaus Meine, like I said, Francis Buchholz, and Rudolf Schenker on guitar. Rudolf, of course, brother of Michael Schenker Group from UFO fame. Excellent band. It's Savage Amusement. On this, some of the excellent tracks worth looking up if you don't know it. Rhythm of Love, Passion Rules the Game, We Let It Rock, You Let It Roll, and Don't Stop at the Top. Any of those, that'll get your party going. It's the Scorpions, Savage Amusement, title on that. Another A now, we're at M-A-S-S-A. Of course, it's guys from Australia, you know them to love them. It's AC/DC, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. And this is, of course, still with Bon Scott on lead vocals. Let's take a look here, see what's on the inside here. Love that cover art, really cool. Let's see. Oh, yeah, just some lyrics, a couple of pictures of the band. I don't know what. Yeah, of course, they're doing this black thing like on the cover here. And I think that's drummer Phil Rudd there, right there in that photo. Yeah, and they're all, there's Bon Scott right there. I recognize him. But yeah, and this is just all the lyrics on the inside. This is an original. I bought this when it came out. I was probably 11, 12 years old. This was a departure for me at the time because it was mostly Kiss, but I was in a record store, I remember at the time, Sam the Record Man, my Canadian friends would know it, and this was playing. I was like, what's that? And I had to get it. All right, so we're at M-A-S-S-A. Now C. C stands for The Cult. This is from the Dreamtime tour, of course, The Cult, post-punk rock and roll outfit from the UK, London specifically, fronted by Ian Astbury. There he is right there, and lead guitarist Billy Duffy. There he is with his Gretsch guitars, white Gretsch. Saw them a couple weeks ago here in Boston, and it was a great show. Of course, these are the only 2 guys left in the band. The opening act was this chick, she calls herself Zola Jesus, just like Susie Sue, kind of in a way. Look up Zola Jesus. I can't name any tracks, but there's a bunch of good stuff on YouTube. So Z-O-L-A and then Jesus. And then the second act was a more established band, been around for 20 years or so, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. I think they're from the West Coast, California or Texas, I'm not sure. One of the 2 though, for sure. Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, another kind of, they're like if Jesus and Mary Chain and the Velvet Underground had a baby, it would be Black Rebel Motorcycle Club for sure. So again, back to The Cult. This is the live tour at the Lyceum Theatre in London. This was a tour for the Dreamtime album. I'm not a huge fan of that album, but live it does sound really great, and that's why I have it here. And you can see the date on that show was the 20th of May, 1984. So as luck would have it, I should point out, sometimes I'll show collectibles as they pertain to my videos. My friend Bryant, I know he watches these videos. He scored really excellent tickets. We were in the 4th row at this really nice amphitheater right down in the ocean in downtown Boston. And so right at the Cult played their encore. Of course, the drummer came out. I should point out The Cult. If you're a fan of them, you probably are already aware of this fact. They had more drummers than Spinal Tap. And the current incarnation of the band, there's a guy named John Tempesta, and he played with Testament, Exodus, White Zombie. He toured with a few different acts. But so I name in those bands like Exodus and Testament and White Zombie, like I just said, all really heavy bands. I mean, the Cult's a heavy band, but they're not Exodus. But anyway, really talented drummer. And he comes out after the encore, throws the drumsticks, and I just reached out boom, and there it is. It's not autographed, unfortunately. That's just the brand name, Vic Firth. Right there, you can see. But boom, I remember my friend Bryant, he's right here to my right, and I looked over at him, and I just, boom. And, you know, a little incapacitated at that point. We've been, you know, partying a bit, but my reflexes kicked in, and I had that, you know, karate or kung fu moment, and boom, there it was. So yeah, caught that drumstick. I have been to so many concerts over the years, and I'm over 50 years old. That's the first time that's ever happened. But I don't always sit in the fourth row, so that's probably why. But anyway, that was just a really great concert moment that I thought I'd throw in because it was fairly recent. And yeah, and if I know the Cult are touring into the fall. I'm not sure if they're done the US thing. I know they're going to be out in Canada on the West Coast in September because a friend of mine lives in Vancouver. I told him about it. But yeah, it was really worthwhile. And Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and again, Zola Jesus was the kickoff. And we watched both the opening bands, and they were both excellent as well. So we're on to the letter H, M-A-S-S-A-C-H. And it's the Honey Drippers. This was a fun project for Robert Plant, of course, from Led Zeppelin fame. And this kind of was like a, he was just kind of doing like a 40s, 50s big band, you know, I guess I'd call it big band, jazzy, dance hall stuff. And, you know, on here, there's a couple of covers like, you know, Sea of Love, that's a beautiful song. I Get a Thrill. And Rocket at Midnight, that was a great single. Look that up on YouTube. There was a big video on MTV and Much Music in Canada at the time. And this was just called Volume 1. There wasn't a Volume 2. This was a 5-song EP. And again, it's yeah, it's just called Volume 1. And it's the Honey Drippers for the letter H. All right. So M-A-S-S-A-C-H-U. This is a trip-hop outfit. This is a compact disc. This is Underworld. I can't remember a whole lot about these guys. I bought this at the time when it came out in the 90s. The release date on this one is 96. And it was actually on Wax Trax. That was a really good label. Sorry, that's going out of focus there. If you can't see the Wax Trax logo in there. But distributed by A&M. Of course, Wax Trax was a big label with Al Jorgensen from Ministry. And a lot of industrial bands. So this is kind of like trip-hop stuff. Just DJ spinning, you know, kind of stuff. Like if you're in a dark club, it's nice background music. Yeah, so maybe one of the highlights on this one, Be Kiteless, and Juanita's good too. I haven't listened to this in ages. Maybe I'll throw this on tonight. But yeah, I was looking for a unique band under the letter U, and it's Underworld right here. Release date is 1996, like I said. Yeah, we got another S here, so M-A-S-S-A-C-H-U-S. Yeah. And from New Zealand, of course, this is Split Enz, featuring the brothers Neil and Tim Finn. This was their 7th studio album. They'd been out for a while at this point. This was 1981. There's some pictures of the band on the back here. So yeah, there's Neil Finn right there, or Tim Finn. I always get the two brothers confused. But there were a few good singles on this one. Hard Act to Follow kicks it off. That's a really good song. And side 2 begins with History Never Repeats. They were just really great songwriters. And of course, they later went on to Tim and Neil Finn later went on and did their own thing after Split Enz. Yeah, so just the inside, not much in the way of liner notes. Of course, they were on A&M, and it's yeah, it's Split Enz. Waiata, the title on that one. Sounds Hawaiian. Hawaiianata, but it's Waiata, and it's yeah, it's 1981, like I said. Yeah, from New Zealand. And we're at the letter E now, so M-A-S-S-A-C-H-U-S-E. And it's in that part of the world, New Zealand, but this is Australia. It's the Eurogliders. I mainly bought this at the time. I was a big fan of the song Heaven. Female lead vocalist, the name escapes me, but it's a fun video if you look it up. It's on YouTube. Great video. And the name on this album is called This Island, and it's the Eurogliders. I've never seen anybody show this album. Again, the guy I mentioned from Australia, Down Under Tunage. Yeah, if he knows it, please chime in the comments and let me know, John, if you're familiar with this band. But yeah, I really can't recommend any of the other stuff on this because I haven't listened to this probably since I was a teenager, but I still have it. And I kept it because I really love that song. Of course, Heaven, the name of that track. The letter E, it's the Eurogliders. All right, we're getting near the end of Massachusetts. So then I've got two T's and an S here to go, it looks like. We're at the end of the spelling. Of course, this is Matt Johnson, and this is a 12-inch single, of course, for Uncertain Smile, the name of this track. Just a brilliant, brilliant song. Really cool artwork on this 12-inch single. I would have bought this around the time this came out. Of course, when I was a teenager, nothing really on the inside here. Of course, you can see it's on Epic. It's at 45 RPM because it's a 12-inch single. For the most part, 12-inch singles are played at 45 RPM. And the B-side's got a track on here called Perfect, which is also good. And that's just like a caricature of Matt Johnson right there. Da-da. So the letter T. And it's the Uncertain Smile, 12-inch single. All right, moving on here. They've been called Canada's party band. They're Trooper. They're from Vancouver, British Columbia on the West Coast. Still active today, I believe. They play the summer circuit. These guys are getting on in years, but they're still doing it, and they still draw a crowd. Very popular north of the border. I would call them classic rock, but more in the vein of like a Cheap Trick. That kind of poppy sound to it. As far as the classic rock goes, more of a pop sound again, if you like Cheap Trick. So this was their 5th studio album, and it was released in 1979. Frontman Ray McGuire, great singer. Some of the highlights on this, Three Dressed Up as a 9. That was a big single. Used to hear that on the radio a lot. All Day and All the Night, Mr. Big, She's So Sweet. Yeah, it's really good. I saw them one time in my hometown. They played a summer festival there at some point in the late 80s. I can't tell you what year it was, but just, yeah, they're really, really excellent. I was at the Riverfest Festival. Any of my friends from Brockville that watched this video, it was Trooper. Can't remember who they played with, but it was a fun night, you know, with the beer tent, of course, and all that other stuff going on in the St. Lawrence River in the summer. And it's Trooper for the letter T. And then finally, Massachusetts ends with an S. And it's child prodigy on guitar and singer himself. It's the great Charlie Sexton from Austin, Texas. Recorded this debut when he was only 17 years old. The label wanted to shape him up like as or make him out to be more of a heartthrob, and he had roots in blues, and later went on, of course, to do other things I'll talk about in a second. But this was good. I mean, it's a good pop record, and he's got that croony kind of, he's got that heartthrob look. Look at him, he's a good-looking kid, and there he is on the back leaning on his guitar. But good vocalist. He's got a really unique style. Great singer. Big highlight on this one. There's a video for this, Beats So Lonely. You can look that up. And of course, I'm impressed. It's the chorus is I'm not impressed, but the title of that track, Impressed. Yeah, it's really excellent. It was produced by Keith Forsey. I know that name as a producer. I just can't think offhand other acts that he produced, but he was pretty active at the time. I know that. And this was, of course, this was on the MCA label. Remember what's on the inside here, if anything. Oh yeah, so you've just got, there's just a silhouette of Charlie Sexton on the back, and some band credits on here. No one I recognize. But of course, he recorded this in LA, but like I said, he was from Austin. Already had made a name for himself, and yeah, of course, he says here on the back, he dedicates this to all my friends from Austin, or in Austin rather. So yeah, it's Charlie Sexton, just his self-titled debut. Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's the debut album by Charlie Sexton. So this came out, what's the year on this one? 1985. Some years later, in 92, he teamed up here with, who else is on here? Doyle Bramall II, of course. There's Doyle right down there in the front. And Tommy Shannon and Chris Layton right here. These two guys, they were the sidemen for Stevie Ray Vaughan's band Double Trouble. Of course, Tommy Shannon on drums and Chris Layton on bass. Here we are on the back, on the inside. This is nice liner notes, but I wanted to show this CD, not just because Charlie Sexton joined this band and played with them. Story went with me. I was working in Toronto briefly for a couple of years at this time, and I was going on Yonge Street before I caught my subway home one day after work. And I went into, like I said, Sam the Record Man was a big chain, and their Hallmark store was right there on Yonge Street. Well, these guys, Archangels, were in town to play a show that night, and I was going to that show, and they were doing a signing in the store. So I got them to sign a CD for me, and you can see there's the signatures on the inside. Of course, there's Charlie Sexton there and Doyle Bremall, and that's Tommy Shannon on the top. I must have missed Chris Layton, but I got those three. I thought that was pretty cool, so I thought I'd show that. Some of the highlights on this, Sent by Angels is great, Sweet Nadine, and the big single from this is a song called Living in a Dream. It's really excellent. So they trade off on vocals between Doyle Bremall and Charlie Sexton. Doyle's also a good singer, but his main thing's mainly guitar. And Doyle Bremall, the second, went on and he did some solo stuff. But yeah, these guys are back together and they're on the road by some miracle. They only did this one off like as a super group at the time, 92, 92, and they were on Geffen on this one. There's a nice shot of the band on the back there. Of course, it's from the CD library of yours truly. That looks like it's just out somewhere in rural Austin, Texas. But great band. If you ever get a chance to see them, do it. I'm not going this time, but I think they've already been through Boston on this tour. Like I said, they're on the road again right now in 2022, post-pandemic tour, if you will, and it's the Archangels. So again, as I ended there with the letter S, rather, because it was Charlie Sexton, just led me into that sidebar with that Archangel CD. I thought you might find that amusing. You know, I do. It's a great music memory, just like that drumstick I showed earlier. So again, I like showing those things if they're germane to the content or the subject of the video. So again, this thread, spell where you're from. I'd like to see some, and I hope this thread catches on in the vinyl community. It was fun doing it, and maybe you're from a town or a place that's got a short name. It'll be an easy video for you to put together. So of course, I went the long game and did Massachusetts, but I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you're having a good summer. We're kind of heading into August now. It'll be over before you know it. So wherever you're on the world, hope you're having a good one. I'll see you next time.